Welcome to today's podcast with Jocelyn and Alicia. And today we will be talking about cyclical living, how to sync in with the rhythms of your body. And today we will be talking with Jocelyn, who I believe is an expert in this area. So, Jocelyn, what would you like to say?
Hi, I'm super excited to talk about cyclical living because this helped me to connect to my body more deeply. I always had um, more of a feel for what was going on in my body, but through lots of different mysterious types of chronic pain and connecting more to the divine feminine, and then connecting to my menstrual cycle really shifted things even more deeply into my body. And so I'm excited to talk about the why this is so important for building a deeper, more intimate connection to our bodies, thereby creating a more deeper connection to nature and to people that we are in relationships with.
Oh, that's great. It's so interesting how we learn about our bodies often going through pain. Like sometimes when we have to we go through chronic pain in order to really connect with our bodies. But how how do you connect to your body, especially when it comes to you say like your cycles?
Well, well, first of all, it's interesting that you do say it takes chronic pain because for me it was my really intense cramps, menstrual cramps. That was the motivating factor for wanting to do this. Um, but yeah, so the way that you would connect to your body through your menstrual cycle is through cycle tracking. And a lot of women are already doing this with apps, which is great. That's how I started too, just having an app to know when my period was coming. And that's usually the reason why they want to know when their period's coming. And a lot of us look at our period as our cycle. Oh, I started my cycle as the period. Um, but there's more to it. It can go deeper, right? It's not just looking at the menstrual cycle as your period. It's looking at the menstrual cycle as your constant flow in life, right? It just changes throughout the cycle. Men have a 24-hour cycle that our system puts everybody on. Women have a 28, 25 to 35 day cycle, however many days yours is. And it's good for us to know that every day we are in a different place in our cycle. And that way we can know ourselves better, right? When I am on my period, well, I know how I'm going to be. That's most women. But a lot of women don't know exactly who they are and how they behave, how they respond, how they think and show up when they're on day 5 or day 14. And because of that, we have a lot of shame when we are in our premenstrual phases. There's a lot of shame. There's a lot of, oh, I didn't react the way that I normally would, or I'm extra grumpy, but we're not actually looking at it as my hormones are doing this thing right now. And that's making my body respond in a certain way. And so I want to put up boundaries around this specific time. And we don't do that.
Now, yeah, we don't do that. You said initially that to start with is good to use apps. Are you still using apps or have you like upgraded to other forms of cycle tracking?
I no longer use an app because I switched to journal tracking. When I
Mm.
decided I was going to take my cycle into my own hands and feel more empowered in my sexual body, I decided to start writing it down. And so I first started very, very, very briefly writing things down. I would have 1 to 2 lines per day. Today is October 2nd, 2023. And so I would write October 2nd, day 4, whatever day it is. I don't have a cycle that I can track right now because I'm breastfeeding and I recently had a baby. But when I am tracking, I would put that day. And then when I first started, I would put, oh, I was extra moody today, or I snapped at a friend, or, a few words to describe my mood and things that stood out. Some days I would write tired, 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 exclamation mark. And that was it. But that's how I started. And then over time, it evolved. And so, I would have a page per cycle, right? It was only about 25 lines because I had a shorter cycle. And then I would go over it on my menstruation and I would reflect. Okay, during my follicular phase, I was feeling this way. During ovulation, I was feeling this way. During luteal phase, I was feeling this way. And what I read about what I should be feeling if my hormones were regulated on my follicular or my ovulation did not match, right? I was tired during ovulation. I didn't feel strong and outgoing and social during ovulation. And so maybe my hormones were off and I would look at my diet. But mostly it was just helpful to see where I was at. I know I have a lot of friends who have tried to get pregnant and they can't. And so they go in and they get all these tests and they find out that their hormones are off. But if we're living in this way and we're tracking our cycle, we can see for ourselves, my hormones are off. I'm tired when I'm ovulating. Then you don't need someone else to tell you what's going on in your body. You know what's going on in your body. And then you look for resources to help. I love Alyssa Vitti because she has resources for look at your diet, look at your exercise. What are you doing when you're menstruating? Are you going for a run? Well, stop doing that. So take each day of your cycle seriously and look at what are you eating? How does that support the hormones where they're supposed to be? How does that raise your estrogen if you're low in estrogen, right? Or lower your estrogen or progesterone, right? She gives you these tools to know how to work with your hormones so that you can regulate your body yourself. And you don't have to go to a doctor and have someone else tell you what's going on in your body and how to fix it. You can do everything naturally. So this connects you deeper to nature because we as humans are natural beings. We are just as natural as the trees and the birds and crystals. Just as natural and powerful as these crystals that many people collect. But we have to have the power to go in and take care of ourselves and to track that. So when I first started doing the journal tracking, that's what it turned into. And then it evolved into me really writing about everything that went on in the day. And then I would see how my tone would change. Maybe it was a regular day and I was in my luteal phase, but the tone was more harsh or straightforward or negative or judgmental. And maybe I'm in my follicular phase and the tone is more inspired. And so I would start to see my tone. I can just keep going on and on. One more thing actually I want to say is also this is where boundaries come in. I know a lot of women in my age category are starting to really take in boundaries, learn how to build boundaries for themselves. Well, your boundaries can be different depending on where you are in your cycle, right? If you're in follicular and ovulation, you can have a more open social boundary, letting people in more, being a little more receptive. If you're in your luteal phase, you might want to be more closed, less going out, not interested in hanging out with new friends, but really just wanting to keep it to older close friends. Older as in you've been friends longer, or more me time, right? And so we look at all of this stuff so that we feel safer and we can be more present and more confident with ourselves.
That's great. I love it. I use the Alyssa Vitti app and I think it works really. It's definitely a great starter app. I haven't upgraded to the whole journaling and kind of going in depth, but I do use that app, and it's really interesting how you can really like see where you're at in the cycle. And there are different times in your cycle, like you said, where you are feeling a little bit more negative, where you're wanting to not hang out with friends, where you're feeling more introverted. And I know for me, ovulation's the time, like you said, I want to go out, I want to be social, I want to meet people, I'm feeling inspired, more creative. And then right when I'm about to bleed, I just want to like tune out and tune in and just really focus on, this is the time when I meditate more. Like it gets very mystical for me. It's like getting in touch with that womb mysteries for me. I like going within, and it's so mysterious, and it's just it's a dark time, not in a negative way, but a dark time. It's almost like I'm in myself. So I love how you say that. And I know a lot of women feel this, and a lot of us are also very disconnected, and we're just going day to day, and we feel vague nuances of this, but we can't pinpoint why we're feeling certain feelings when we're feeling those feelings.
Right.
So I really think that all of this cycle tracking is so helpful to get to know yourself, to connect with yourself, but also to like kind of predict and set yourself up so that you're properly kind of taken care of. It's part of that self-care.
Yes. Yeah. And I love how you said it's a dark time, because the darkness is not a negative thing, right? The darkness is just something we have to go into. Right now, it's the fall. We're going into the dark. We're going into the yin season, right? We have our inner seasons that coincide with the outer seasons. The winter is our menstruation. It's when we go in, yin go in.
Mm-hmm.
And our luteal phase right before menstruation, that's our fall. And when we're tracking it, and don't set the goal of journal tracking, just set the goal of writing it down and writing out some words to choose how you're feeling. Like that's simple. And it may evolve or it may not, but it's just it's using your hand, using your body to write it down versus using a screen. And you can do them both. But yeah, so the fall is the luteal stage. It's when we are gathering our resources, we're beginning to slow down, we're beginning to feel that darkness coming in. And the more we do this, we start to feel, I know when my menstruation is going to start. And so we can really prepare for that. And so this dark time is a really important time to really connect with. And the spring is our follicular phase. It's when we come out of menstruation and we start to feel more inspiration. We feel more creative and we are emerging from the darkness as a new woman. And then we go into our ovulation where we are at our strongest. This is the yang, and we want to go out and socialize. And like we had said,
It's summertime. I want to
summer,
party.
summer, summertime.
Definitely, definitely. I can totally see like the correlations of the seasons and the seasons within. So, like, I just want to recap. You said ovulation is analogous to like summer.
Mm-hmm.
And you said the follicular phase, it's fall. Am I
Here, I'll go
correct?
in order. So
Sure.
ovulation is summer, luteal is the fall, winter is menstruation, spring is the follicular.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
love
this,
that.
because the spring is when the flowers are starting to bloom, everything is starting to come back alive. And the spring is also when your hormones are beginning to rise and your body is preparing to hold the egg to create a new being, a baby. So it's preparing for this great creation. And then the summer is when it's at its strongest. It's ready to create a new baby. As you know, it doesn't matter if a woman wants to have a baby or not. Our bodies are in a cyclical process of creation. And so every cycle, what are you inspired to create? If you're not wanting to create a baby, what are you creating? What is your inspiration? When it's the spring, your inner spring, where is that inspiration? What are you wanting? What are you desiring? There's that feeling in your body where you're wanting to call something in. Reflect on that. And then we go into summer. Create that in your ovulation. Allow that to emerge. Allow that to be alive. And then when your inner fall comes and you're in your luteal, wrap it up. Wrap that stuff up. The cycle is coming, into its second half. You're starting to feel a little more irritable, a little more starting to close off a little bit. So go with it. Don't fight it. Don't push it away. Allow that to just be your flow and prepare for the winter, your menstruation.
I
Does
love
that make
that.
more sense now that I've actually said it in order?
Yeah, no, it totally does. It totally does. And it's just so interesting. I wish that corporations would have more knowledge of this so that women could like know when to predict when they can do the most productivity at work, right? To be the most productive, and then find the time when they could just kind of relax and not do so much. Because I think a lot of the burnout that we're seeing is women are just like over, like doing too much when they're menstruating. And that's just my own personal theory. But I feel like
Yes.
we lived in touch with nature and we are, we really take care of ourselves during menstruation, we wouldn't be doing so much. I know when I'm on my bleed, I don't want to do much. I really don't. At
Right.
least the first 3 days for
Yeah.
me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if we could have in the corporate setting meetings scheduled around the follicular and ovulation, right? Like deadlines, things like that. Oh my gosh, like we are so much more productive, so much stronger and empowered and confident when we are able to truly live in sync with our cycles. But unfortunately, the corporate world is based around the man's hormonal cycle. Which I can't remember specifically, but the hormone levels, rise midday. Basically, like the workday coincides with them, but I don't have my resources with me to be able to say specifically. But like I said before, a great resource if you really want to get into this, if you're not working with me one-on-one in coaching, is to seek out Alyssa Vitti on Instagram. She's got a few books out there that give a lot of information on how to do this. And just pick one thing. You could start with your diet, you could start with seed cycling, but I say cycle tracking. Start with very simple, just get to know yourself better by writing it down and looking back at it. And it doesn't have to be a lot. I think I want to repeat it over and over again because I think a lot of times when I say journal tracking, it's very overwhelming and people don't have a lot of time for it. And it's like, just write down a few words. It's just a few words. Just reflecting on your day. Okay, super moody today. Feeling a bit of shame. That's okay. Look, you're about to start menstruating.
Right.
So
Right.
drop the shame because of course you're feeling that way. It's our hormones. We're just a bag of chemicals. That's it.
Right. Not to mention the cravings that a lot of us experience again right before we bleed.
Oh,
And
sugar.
sugar, yes, sugar, chocolate, cake.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also how that also, I think, contributes to our mood too. Because our bodies are craving that and then we consume it and then we judge ourselves because we just ate like a whole tub of ice cream. But that's what we're craving. And now afterwards we'll feel some shame because we ate it.
Yeah.
And of course, not every woman, but a lot of us. I know for me, I raised my hands. I've been one of those. So
Yeah.
to kind of give yourselves a little bit of like forgiveness and knowing that this is natural and this is just part of the natural rhythm that is your body.
Yeah. Give yourself some slack. And, you know, for me, my biggest thing with mentoring, coaching is we do these things so that we can come to a place of receptivity and allowance. When you allow yourself to be a certain way, so you ate the whole carton of ice cream. That's okay. Don't get upset at yourself, because when we start getting upset at ourselves, we start feeling that shame. That has a greater effect on how we are going to move forward in the future than if we say, okay, I had a pint of ice cream today. Great. So I won't have one next week. Right. And I'll buy a bag of cookies and I'll say to myself, I'm going to eat that whole bag in 2 days. I know it. So I won't buy a bag of cookies for another couple of weeks. And I haven't. And in a few weeks, I'll let myself buy a bag of cookies again. Right.
Right.
And I'll eat
So
the
it's not
whole
like you're
thing.
doing this every day. It's not like this addiction that you're giving into. You're just understanding the cycles of your body and working in sync with that and allowing yourself to have these to giving into this craving when your body's like literally asking you for this.
Yeah. And a lot of times, if you're craving sugar, you might actually be craving protein. And so it's knowing where your hormones are at, where they should be, and then eating the foods that will support those protein levels. And I just want to say, the deeper we have a relationship with our body, the more acceptance we have with who we are, how we are, what we are doing, then whatever goal you have for your body, you want to lose weight, you want to look better, whatever, all of that stuff will come automatically. The self-love is the key. That is going to change everything. My pain went away as my relationship deepened with my body. I had this mantra come to me when I had, 2 years of intense chronic pain in my hip. And the mantra came not from one specific theme. It came from all the work I had done to build a more loving relationship with my body. I said the mantra over and over and over and over, and suddenly, bam, the pain was gone. Since I've been cycle tracking, my menstrual cramps have greatly reduced. I used to take over 2,000 milligrams of ibuprofen a day. Now, or at least before I had baby, I would take one 200 milligram pill, and that was it. So
Can you share with us that mantra?
I actually don't remember it. I have it written down in a box that's in my mom's garage in Arizona.
Okay.
But I know we have to wrap it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to go on too long about this.
Well, maybe we can I can just wrap up with the three takeaways. And the three takeaways is of course, building a deeper connection to your menstrual cycle and your sexual body, the importance of cycle tracking, right? It's all related. And building a deeper connection to nature, like just how all of this, like the seasons within, how all of this kind of just all goes together. It's amazing how nature is a mirror of our inner nature, so to speak. And I think the third takeaway that I got was empowerment, confidence, creativity, and self-validation grow when you track your cycle and you live according to that. I think that's genius. And I so wish that a woman's natural rhythm would be taken as important in our business settings, because I think it would be such a game changer, especially in the corporate world.
Yeah, for
But we'll
sure.
have to create that for ourselves, I think.
Exactly. Not asking others to change. We can find ways to change it within ourselves, right? It's a lot harder in a corporate setting, but you just look for ways that you can do it for you, that you can be more low key, that you can take better care of yourself. Remember that stress affects your cycle. And so as you're writing these notes, look at the patterns where that is, and just reflect, and you'll figure it out on your own. It's surprising how little we need someone else to tell us about ourselves. We just need a
Right,
little bit of
right.
guidance. That's it.
Yes, and that is something that you provide very, very well. So any
Thank you.
last words? So we can wrap this up.
I think I feel complete. I'm, with this lactating brain, I'm not sure if I made any sense, but I sure hope I did.
You made a lot of sense.
Cool.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom, Jocelyn.
Yeah.
This was a great conversation. I loved it.
Cool. I'm glad I finally got to talk about it. All right. Well, I guess that's a wrap then.
That's it. Thank you for joining us and stay tuned for more future episodes of our podcast. And yes, so goodbye, everyone.
Bye.